Hey everyone, Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler, with another What Sold on eBay video. We're going to go through some of the things that we sold on eBay, some of the ins and outs, and you might actually learn something new that you haven't seen before. And so make sure that you go through the whole video and watch it, because you never know what nugget of information that you're going to find. So let's get right into it. Up first, we have this Nest security camera. This is actually a loose piece. This was tested, and for those that don't know, when you see the Nest, and this is what it looks like right here. That's the logo. Now I think they have a doorbell too. This happens to be just like a kind of like a webcam that is ran through. You power it up with a wire, and then it has Wi-Fi with it. Finding these new sealed, they go for a lot of money. They can possibly go up to $200. We actually took a best offer for 80 something on this one. This one was tested, and it had all the paperwork and everything like that. So just look out for this. Basically, look out for this Nest product. They have very few products, but all the stuff goes for a pretty good amount of money. This one happens to be the Nest Cam. So just look out for this brand. This is a Bolo brand for sure. And you got to do some testing and things like that to make sure it works. But if you can find them sealed in the packages for a reasonable price. If you can find any Nest products that are under $50 and they're sealed, is a deal, because you could pretty much double your profit on those, because a lot of things go for over $100 that are sealed. So that's a good word of advice for looking for Nest products if you come across them. Next up, we have this vintage black Sawyer's Viewmaster personal 3D stereo camera. Yes, the same company that makes Viewmaster. Originally, they came from the company Sawyer's. Is actually the company that made the first Viewmasters. As you can see here, this is what the bottom looks like, and this is what the case looks like. It says Viewmaster personal stereo. You can basically take photos with special film. Now, I don't think they make this film anymore, though I haven't even looked, and they probably do in some kind of crazy niche camera store. But basically what would they do is you can basically take your own photos and have them turned into Viewmasters. I don't know how that worked, but that's what this camera was for. As you can see there's the film slot, and this is what it looks like from the back. And they're very noticeable. They're black, and they say Viewmaster right on the front. And these things go for over $100 in decent condition. You can still get some good money for these if they're in slightly used condition. Now, of course, this is untested, and I highly suggest, unless you know what you're doing, unless you have film, always list old cameras like this as untested, because you will, when you start to sell cameras, you will get a lot of people asking if the camera works. And a lot of us aren't set up for the means of like getting the film, testing it out, developing the film, making sure it works. And so, like I said, for other cameras, this is kind of a specialty camera. So this is kind of out of the box of normal vintage cameras. So if you have like a regular 35 millimeter camera that takes film, that's kind of in the, anything past the 60s, you could do like a 5-point test, seeing that, the shutter speed works. The flap opens up in the back. It winds. There's a few things that you can test without having to actually put film in it and test it, that you could know it's pretty good. But like I said, that's a whole conversation in itself. Just look out for this black Sawyer's Viewmaster personal 3D stereo camera. You could find these at estate sales, and eventually, every once in a while, you'll find these at Goodwills and things in the cabinet. They usually put these things in the glass cabinets and stuff, so just definitely keep an eye out for that. Next up, we have the Citizens Eco Drive watch. This watch does not work, and it's still sold for $103. Citizen is a Bolo brand when it comes to watches. As you can see, even a watch that doesn't work sells for about $100. Citizen is a brand that you should definitely look out for. The Eco Drive is basically the one the one that, just by wearing it, winds it. There's a mechanism in there that basically charges the watch, and the thing is, if you don't wear it enough, it actually will stop working. But once you start wearing it and you set the time, it charges itself. But like I said, Look out for Citizen watches. If you can find these things brand new, they go upwards of $300, $400, $500, $600 on up. So definitely look out for this Bolo brand for sure. Speaking of watches, we have this woman's watch for repair. Those are 5 watches. Sometimes you can find like lots of this kind of stuff at estate sales and things like that. And just be familiar with the brands. There's some pretty high-end brands that you should look out for. I think this is Wittnauer or what was this one? Wittnager is a good one. And I'm probably butchering that name. Like I know what it looks like. I just can't pronounce the name. And like I said, these are all for parts and repair. This went for $159.05. So vintage watches, like I said, you can sometimes pick these up at garage sales for like $1 or 50 cents. Watches is a whole other niche to like learn. You know, there are vintage watches that are like cheap and that no one wants them. So it's just one of the things about starting to learn the brand names and what to look out for as far as that. And so yeah, so just look out for those kind of things. Like I said, if you can find watches for cheap, definitely pick them up. Next up, we have this Doctor Who Titans vinyl figure lot of 13. These are little vinyl figures. They're probably about 3 inches tall, if not 2.5 inches tall. They're all from the Doctor Who series, which is a popular sci-fi BBC show. And these little figures basically come in blind boxes. And for those that don't know what a blind box is, it's basically a box that you don't know what's inside it. And there's different rarities to some of the figures. Some of these figures are kind of rare, meaning that, like, you know, if you buy a whole case of them, you can only get one of them in a case. Or sometimes even you won't get them in a case. Sometimes it takes you 3 cases to pull one of these figures. I think this Dalek right here is actually a rare one. And I think there was a couple other ones that were rare. You could have sold these by themselves. But I lotted them up, and we took a best offer for, I want to say, 60 something on this. And this is just one of those things to look out for. You know, if you see these auctions, like maybe you can snipe them out. Like if you found that someone was selling this whole set for $20, and you know that you can get $10 for this figure and $10 for that figure, it might be worth getting. So that's also kind of like a pro tip for sniping lots, is if you know about a particular thing, like you say, oh, I know the silver figure is worth $50 and they want $20 for it, you know, buy the lot for 20 and then sell that part, and then you can sell the rest of them to make profit. But this was a good set. You know, these weren't played with. I mean, for the most part, people that collect these don't play with these. These aren't really action figures. They're mostly for like office display, and kind of collectors will just, you know, who are into Doctor Who will display these. And so these things were actually in pretty good condition. Also, I think it's the sonic screwdrivers, what that thing's called that he's holding. And those come off out of the hand, so those are all loose. So I had to kind of put those all together to the corresponding doctors or whatever. So there's that. Hey, and there's our Discovery Shop. If you're ever in Burbank, come stop by, say hello. Next up, we have this Vinylmation Geisha. This went for $24.99. These were, I think this was actually I don't know if it's a Walt Disney World one or if this one actually was actually sold at Disneyland. There's some of them that actually sell for different. And by the way, Vinylmation is a brand to look out for if you ever see these little Mickey figures. They're about 3 inches tall, and they're shaped as Mickey. And sometimes they're not Mickey, but they use the Mickey Mouse shape. And that's what the newer ones, these are the 2.0 molds. And that's what they'll look underneath. What's nice is it'll say Vinylmation, and it'll also say what the series is, and also the signature is the artist who made it. I used to be so knee deep into Vinylmation. I can't even tell you. I knew a lot of the artists personally, and some of them have become good friends over the years. So this is a niche that's very dear to my heart. And as soon as I saw this, I knew to look it up, because this was an odd one. I pretty much know all the sets as far as what figures, and this is like a sickness. This is a sickness that I got just by knowing, like, I would say like Vinylmation, I'm pretty much expert level at as far as determining what the price is. And they've made like hundreds of figures over the years. They started in 2008. And in Walt Disney World with a blank white figure, and then they made a bunch of sets, Park Series, Urban Series. I can go on and on and on about this niche, and that's the good thing about when you get into the business. of reselling. Your hobbies kind of bleed over to reselling, where you see something you're like, I know all about this particular niche. And Vinylmation is definitely one of the expert level niches that I'm aware of. So just keep an eye out for this stuff. Some of them go for hundreds of dollars. The first series, Balloon Chaser, goes for a lot of money. So just you know, a lot of these figures aren't worth much, you know, under $5, but there's some of them that are worth a pretty good amount of money. So just keep an eye out for them. Next up, we have this Mel Brooks DVD box set. We've been getting in a lot of box sets lately. We just actually did a video today about the vlog, and if I can remember, I'll put a link to the vlog up here, and you can check it out. How we this week we've gotten DVDs like crazy. I don't know if people are just cleaning out their closets, but always scan these. Let me see if I actually took a picture of the barcode on here. That would be nice if I did. Probably didn't. This one even had a little chunk taken out of the plastic, and it still sold for $20 plus shipping. I ship all DVDs, media mail, $5. I want to say $5 will cover up to like 4 or 5 pounds, but don't quote me on that. You look on your own shipping thing. Usually $5 will cover you know, a DVD box set for sure. I think it's like 3 something or 4 something to ship. So if you want to add, you know, the money to the box, $5 is usually what I charge for all DVD sets. And just get familiar with media mail. If you're not familiar with media mail, you can go and Google it and get familiar. And just real quick, since you're here, media mail is any kind of media, vinyl, LPs, DVDs. You can't ship video games for some odd reason. I don't even know why that is. I wish you can ship video games through media mail. Magazines you can't, because it has advertising in it. So anything that has advertising in it, but don't stress yourself out if you have coffee table books that have advertising in it. Coffee table books will usually go. Pretty much all books that don't have advertising in it, which is pretty much all books when you really think about it. Magazines are the things that usually have advertising in it, so you couldn't send magazines via media mail, but you could send a coffee book, a novel can go media mail. So just get yourself familiar with media mail. You'll save yourself a lot of money. It's going to take maybe 2 or 3 days longer than first class to get to the person, and so just be aware of that. It's economy shipping basically. So with that, you know, just do your research if you're not familiar with media mail. And DVDs, 90% of DVDs are worthless. Well, I don't want to say worthless. They're not worth picking up to resell. But scan every single DVD that's sealed that you find, because you never know what you're going to get. Some of the older box sets, and some of them go for a lot of money, so just be very careful and alert to that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely click the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're going to be doing these videos a couple times a week. Hope you learned something. If you did learn something, click the like button, subscribe for more future videos on this as we dive into the eBay algorithm and all that fun stuff. Once again, I'm Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. We'll see you next time. Take care.